So, I finished in the top 32 in the first European regional of BT20 with the worst colour in the game. Yeah, you've probably guessed it, it's green.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
So what makes green so bad at the moment? Well, with the release of BT20 and the ban list as well that comes with BT20, we saw a massive shift in the meta. BT20 released some real powerful strategies such as Android 21 that uses all of your green cards as specified energy to play at big threats. And let's just say the BT20 decks that came out for green weren't quite ideal candidates to take it on.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f***?
Furthermore, the biggest counter to red, which absolutely runs over most green decks, was Crimson Goku. That got banned. On top of that, Bandai decided that these big hitting red decks like Tien and Gogeta just needed a tiny little boost to their power level just to really take them over the top, really pushing out any of your nice hand control focus green decks such as the beloved Raditz. Decide on this terrible colour. Well, quite simply, it's because I hate myself.
And I've decided that I want to die.
Okay, but really, there is one green deck that stands out from all of this that can actually combat these strategies. And that deck is Green Cooler. Green Cooler is a unison focus strategy that balances aggressive early game plays with powerful control focus cards such as Charismatic Villain, Solza and Dodoria that you can use to disrupt different strategies. For instance, if you're playing against one of these turbo dishonest ramping blue decks, you can use your counter plays to disrupt their ramp cards while being heavily aggressive in the opening turns to hit them to low life totals early on. And at the same time as well, if you're playing against any of these red decks, you also have Solza and Charismatic to disrupt their early game pressure before building up to a big, powerful Golden Freezer Newfound Might to finish off the game in your favour. So I had the deck idea and it was time to get cooking. I had recently had success with Cooler in some local events before the new set and ban list kicked in, so I kind of used that deck as an idea, as a bit of a base for things, which you can see right here. However, based on these new powerful decks entering the format and a bit of a shift in the meta and a bit of my own testing sprinkled in as well, I'd need to make a few adjustments. Although the Fated Rival cards, for instance, were extremely powerful at closing out games and probably one of the only good green cards in the game at the moment, right? They kind of needed a Saiyan, Earthling or Namekian in your Z energy to consistently pull them off. And with 3 copies of each, I was at a chunky 54 cards in the main list to try and facilitate them. Piccolo also had no protection on the turn after you played him as well, and was very easily either dealt with by one of these big red decks minusing it off the field because it didn't have any barrier protection, or Android 21 would be very happy to start tapping it to use some of their more powerful cards as well. So in the end, what we decided to do was push those ones over to the side deck. We trimmed down the deck significantly because we were able to take these out and maybe just keep a couple of our Goku Fated Rivals in there as well, and then just use that extra space to really bump up the consistency of different cards. We were able to add a 4th copy of Golden Freezer Newfound Might because we were finding that was the most powerful card in the deck, and we were also able to move Majin Buu thwarting the enemy into the main deck as a free negate to help us combat those very popular Gogeta and Sin Shenron decks. But I found there was just something missing, and we still had a real big problem to fill, and that was blocker negates. Every deck is playing these little painful blocker negates that you can take a life and play a 5,000 or 10,000 powered token, which can then be used to block the second attack. Now, our Golden Freezer that we're looking to finish our games out with does destroy every card on the field when it's played. However, it has one small problem at that point. It gains dual attack and triple strike, which is amazing, but a simple negate on the first swing spawns that blocker and we can't get past it, and we lose 2 powerful swings immediately to my opponent's 1 card. So how do we remedy that? Normally, before, we would use Chomper to attack with our leader, afterwards hitting them with the Chomper to give it double strike and win the game from there. However, the ban list kind of did a little bit of something to that, and we can't play Chomper anymore. It got banned. So we had to think outside the box, and that is when it came to me. urine. No, not that urine. Urine is another Empower unison that can help get our chain of unisons playing, but crucially, after our Golden Freezer has been played and is on 3 markers after down ticking by 4, I can Empower Urine for 4 markers, -4 and give my leader 5k in double strike and go for the game anyway. With the final piece of the puzzle, I finally had my list, as you can see right here. So I'd adapted my sideboard accordingly, because this was a best of 1 pre-side event. As long as the cards I needed were amongst the main and sideboard, I was all set, and I didn't have to focus too much on making sure the main deck was fully up to scratch, because I could just correct it for whatever matchup I was playing. I still loved the power of the Fated Rivals and really wanted them for those grindy, barrier-related matchups we chip away at resources, so I kept those ones into the side deck so they could come in. The Gohan rares dropped into the side from my original build for more specific matchups that required that unison removal, as we'd recently had Margin Boo limited to 1, so we had to use those just sparingly in those Gamma and SS4 matchups. We also added in an extra copy of the Doria and 2 copies of Koitsukai to really help against all these floodgate heavy decks, and Koitsukai also punishes people for blocking negating our Golden Freezer Newfound Might, which is fantastic. The next card that helped round out our side deck as well was Dark Deathball. Now, Dark Deathball is normally a super costly card, but in this side deck, it was really phenomenal against Android 21. One of the latest cards that Android 21 got access to was New Power Counter, which basically is a floodgate, which means that you have to discard a card and a Z energy for every attack you want to do. Using Dark Deathball means that we're able to negate that counter when it's played. Our initial attack still goes through because this card doesn't negate that first attack, and we're still free to really push our aggression past it, and our opponent's just tapped out to do it as well, more than likely. Win-win for us. My final slots in the side deck were a bit of hate towards these more aggressive matchups. Kakunsa, a 2-cost negate that destroys a battle card on the counter, a 3rd Boo negate as well to really hammer home against those Sin Shenrons and leader swings from Gogeta, and an additional Denver Unison, especially against Supreme Kai of Time, being able to offset loads of early aggression and giving you early access to Charismatic and Salza. We had 1 spot left, and that spot went to Frieza Galactic Dynasty. Basically, his stat line was really handy here. It's not really got too much to do with the discard for it, but being a 20k base after upticking allowed us to really pressure loads of these new Z Awaken leaders in the format, such as Sin and the new Margin Vegeta yellow deck. So with our deck and side deck ready to go, we jumped into the first game. So I start off the day against Trunks Cheetah, a really popular yellow strategy focused on controlling your battle cards with powerful yellow tools, focused on resting all your cards, stopping them from swinging. Remember when I said just a minute ago how I still like playing the Fated Rivals combo? Well, they go in for this matchup, and they pay off big time. I spend the first couple of turns applying pressure with Cooler and Freezer unisons, before getting to turn 4 and unleashing the full power of both Goku and Piccolo Fated Rivals. But my opponent Vara simply released from Evils to stop Piccolo's effect, and then uses his SCR Gohan and Piccolo to effortlessly combo out of my Son Goku's 30k double strike. What to do? However, I had one last trick up my sleeve. With 1 energy left after my combo, I had an SCR of my own. Enter Cell Max. I used my last energy to play Cell Max for 1 and swing with quadruple strike into my opponent's leader. He has no negates, and I dump my hand up to 70k, and he can't combo out of it. So that was a tough round, but you know, I'm sure the next round will get a bit easier now we're warmed into the tournament. Oh. My next round, I'm paired against the reigning world champion Philip Tarpini on Golden Freezer. That being said, I had a level of confidence actually going into this matchup. Golden Freezer is a slow, control-based strategy that looks to kind of drag those decks into the late game and uses small Freezer's Army 1-drop cards to untap energy so it can use loads of Yellow's defensive skills, as well as being aggressive with its energy as well and establishing boards. However, I had my counterplays. I wanted to use Salza, I wanted to use Charismatic and Dodoria to really control those 1-drops coming in, limit the amount of defensive energy he could use, and if I counterplayed big attacking threats to kill the 1-drops as they came in, he'd be stranded with little energy to use defensively against my aggressive pushes. So how did it go? Well, the first couple of turns did go well. I was able to control various 1-drops from staying on the board, I was preventing those explosive untapping plays, and I got to turn 4 after using a Charismatic on the Gohan Unison being played to kill the 1-drop that was going to get used to untap the energy. This meant Philip was tapped out, so I went for my big play. I applied some pressure to the Unison first of all on board, before playing my own Golden Freezer card, my 3-cost Unison, and began to swing for 30k triple at his remaining 3 life. Now, with my previous match in mind, at the power of that Gohan and Piccolo SCR that I've seen in so many yellow decks, I combo up to a moderate 55k. Now, Gohan and Piccolo provides 30k's worth of combo power, and I had 5 cards in rest mode, so it was going to be a free combo. So I decided to combo to 55k, meaning that if Philip wanted to combo out of this attack, he'd have to use his SCR, he'd have to then even use a super combo, or 3 more cards from his hand. So even if he had the SCR, it was going to cost him to play it. However, he doesn't quite do that. Philip combos out with 3 super combos and a handful of cards to get out of the attack. However, with extra 6 cards seen from 3 super combos, and the SCR still being fresh in my mind, I'm not going to play into it. So I decide to swing at the Unison. I clear the Unison off the board, and I pass, meaning he doesn't have a combo step to be able to play it. A truly superb play, and I sit very confident. I have a massive 12 cards in hand. Philip's had to use 3 super combos in that one exchange, and he's only got 7 cards afterwards as well. I have a couple of super combos of my own, ready to play. Oh.
Hi.
Okay.
He's not playing the Gohan Piccolo SCR. He gets to 5 energy, slams down Golden Cooler, and, well, I'm in a bit of trouble now. He taps 5, and out of my 12 cards, 7 get immediately placed in my Z energy, and I am then facing down a Golden Cooler, which is going to swing for 40k double strike for every 2 Z energy. Since I'd already charged 2 Z energy foolishly at the beginning of the game, I now have 9 Z energy, equating to 6 double strike attacks from Golden Cooler, and despite my best efforts to combo out, I end up losing the game.
Hi to everyone. I mean, you can't beat the world champions, so of course I won the regional.
I dropped to a 1-1 score, and spoilers, Philip goes on to take the whole thing. So massive congrats to him, a fantastic player, a well deserving of the victory here. But we've still got more work to do. Although I'd lost my first game of the tournament, or only 2 games in, I was determined to show the power of green. And here we go into game 3. So I take my early loss on the chin, and we match up against Gamma. So Gamma is a really control and then aggressive focused mid-range blue deck, which utilizes powerful floodgates such as Android 14 to drag on the game a bit more here, Gohan rares as well to deal with their Unison. Gamma often uses a 2-cost Unison at the beginning of the game, Android 17 and 18, in order to start accruing advantage and charging Z energy. So we really wanted to use that here, and it came in clutch. Second turn, after mopping up a turn 2 Unison, using it, and then moving into a turn 3 Golden Freezer Unison of my own, I already had my Gamma opponent down to 1 life. On the snapback, my opponent has the Beast Gohan SCR to clear my Unison and swing at me twice, reducing me back down, but the card advantage was too far gone at that point. Even though I take a couple of swings critical from the Beast Gohan, I still have plenty of cards in hand, and I'm able to push through an Android 14 Floodgate from my opponent with Golden Freezer to close out the game. I head up to so we move on to round 4, and round 4 is an absolute dream. I am paired against Hatchiak, and it was like playing against Hatch. Whilst Hatch can be super grindy and frustrating deck to play against because it inherently limits the amount of battle card swings someone can do for their turn, I attack with Unisons, and well, Unisons weren't actually printed when this leader was released, so thanks for the advantage, Bandai. My opponent is well versed in the matchup, knowing full well that it's not in his favour, so he uses plenty of negates, blockers, and even signs in deborahs for when I discard cards to gain advantage and start tempering my aggression. However, my Golden Freezer Unison comes down on turn 3, and there isn't a negate left for it. My opponent's on 3 life, and I combo up using 4 super combos to take the game. So, I'm now 3-1, feeling pretty confident, and we head into game 5, and I head back in for another Gamma matchup from round 3, but this time we're against one of the more heavy-hitting European players, and probably the biggest Batman fan I know, Manuel Garcia. We played previously at the European Championships in a classic Gogeta versus Sin snooze fest, which I lost, by the way.
Skill issue.
So I was out to even the score here. My first couple of turns I had to focus on clearing the Unison on board, but I couldn't draw my Gohan rare. So all I had to do was keep on swinging at the Unison to try and clear it off the board. However, this was slowing me down. Although I could attack and get the Unisons low, I just couldn't finish it off. And all the while, Manuel sat pretty at 5 life, slowly building a board of irritating barrier battle cards, which I had limited options of which I could deal with in the deck as well, including the Android 17, and eventually a Vegito Z battle card, a huge 30k base blocker with barrier that was super diff. Not only that, but the Vegito Z battle card starts chipping away at my hand as well, and I start to lose resources very quickly. I try and push through with Golden Freezer, but I just can't quite get an attack through to be able to win out the game through 3 life. And next turn, Manuel drops the Beast Gohan SCR, but in a way better position than my previous opponent, is able to bounce away my board. I have no counterplay to it. I lose, and I drop to 3-2. A very well played game by Manuel again, who goes on to finish 7th at this event, so a huge congrats to him. So, game 6 rolls around. I drop to an X2 record, and I know that every game is going to count from here on out, and I'm starting to see more of these aggressive matchups than I'm expecting. Enter Supreme Kai of Time, a really turbo aggressive black deck that uses loads of free-to-play overwhelms to apply tons of pressure, and they're all 7 cost or less without barrier. So I use Salza and Charismatic as my Unisons early on, as well as a Demagogue to protect, so I can keep on destroying all of these low to the ground battle cards early on to avoid crit pressure, and start denying Gotens and Trunks from hitting the board, which accrue tons of advantage. My opponent goes down pretty low, and even though I'm quite low on cards in hand, Margin Boo negates come in clutch to stop all important swings, and they get the good old trusty Golden Freezer Unison in for the win. 2 games left, and I've got to clutch out, but I have to play my first Sin Shenron of the day. I've done well to avoid it thus far, but Sin Shenron is absolutely one of the best decks in the format and one of the biggest boogeymen entering BT20. So, I have to bring my A game. I start playing defensively, I use my Margin Boos and my Nezes to start negating big Omega Shenron swings, all while using counterplays as well to limit the 4-drop and the Nuova Shenron from entering the field and causing me more pain. I start poking away at his Unison as well, and eventually clear it off the board before I get to turn 4 after a big SCR swing from my opponent, which gets blocker negated. I ramp up my Golden Freezer to 65k, and my opponent can only combo to 65k. We clutch out the game, and we move on with just one more game to play to reach top cut. Now comes the part of our story that gets a little sad.
Gonna cry?
My final matchup of the day is against SS4 Gogeta, the other big threat of the week. I aggressively burn down Gogeta's Unisons so they can't play any of these pesky Saiyans that they can then combo away with in rest mode, all the while using my counterplays to prevent the double strike and critical Gokus and Vegetas from killing me. However, there's one big problem. At turn 4 rolls around, I have no super combos in hand, and, well, very quickly, for those of you who don't know, super combos are kind of important here. The A-drop Gogeta is absolutely one of the most powerful cards in the game, and you cannot use any skills other than super combos to get out of a 35k swing, and with no super combos, you just lose 5 cards from hand. And I lost 5 cards from my hand. Faced with a combination of the Vegito SCR, which allows me to look at my hand and discard the only super combo I had of getting out of the swing, and then I have to negate that, go down to 3 life, and then also tank a triple strike swing, leaving me on a measly 2 cards to my opponent's 9.
Gonna cry?
But I wasn't ready to quit yet. Last turn I had managed to keep a Golden Freezer Unison on the board, but crucially didn't down tick it so I could use it to block some swings. This allowed me to Spirit Boost, negate the SCR with a Margin Boo, and keep enough markers to get aggressive with my turn. I use a combination of Z battle cards and Golden Freezer to start chipping away at that hand, and I force the all-important Z Awaken. Which is great and all, but it also means he gets to keep his Gogeta on the board. So he keeps his Gogeta on the board, I have 2 cards in hand, and I have to pass the turn. But those 2 cards are what's going to save me. I have a Super Combo Paragus, and I also have Cell Max. My beloved SCR, couldn't quite use to win the game, would be used as a powerful 1+10k combo. I use the Super Combo Paragus, I use Cell, and a 5k that I drew in order to get out of the attack from the Gogeta on the following turn, and I'm able to get out of the leader swing as well on top. My opponent, having had to tap all his energy and skipping his charge phase, has to pass over to me. And this is it. All I have to do here is draw any other Unison. I have a Demagogue in my hand, and if I get another one that I can use to free play with my leader, I automatically have enough attacks to break through. And I draw Kakunsa.
Gonna cry?
Now Kakunsa is a great card in this matchup because it negates the leader swing and then KOs another battle card, but unfortunately it's a 4-cost card at 20k, and I just don't have the energy to commit to it alongside what I have in hand. I try and use it aggressively to combo with, but my last remaining attacks just can't get through. I pass back over to my opponent, and with only 2 cards left to defend myself against an onslaught of Rush Attack Vegetas coming next turn, I bow out to an X3 finish. The final standings go up after the tournament, and I finished in 23rd place. Just short of that top 16, but I'm still super proud of the deck and the performance on the day, and I wholeheartedly believe I could have placed higher with a little bit of a cleaner gameplay in a couple of those rounds. The most important thing for me was playing a colour and a deck I enjoyed playing regardless of what the meta tells you. Dragon Ball is a really unique game, and you can make as many of your favourite decks and characters and colours playable, and I hope I've been able to convince you to go to your next event with a deck you genuinely enjoy and not a shitty red deck. Thank you again for everybody I played against and everyone who helped build and test the deck for the event. Porter, one of my teammates, put in the multiple hours of just being counterplayed into oblivion to make this possible, so a special shout out to him and the rest of the team as well, who provided me support and updates throughout the day while I was playing as well. If you liked the video and you want to see a bit more of this stuff from me, you just let us know down in the comments and we're more than happy to accommodate. This is Rev signing off. Now goodbye forever!